Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right, we're ranking The Devil Wears Prada 2. The Devil Wears Prada 2 is a 2026 American comedy drama film. It is a sequel to the 2006 film The Devil Wears Prada. In the film, years after leaving Runway magazine, Andy Sachs is pulled back into the ruthless world of high fashion as Miranda Priestley fights to keep her influence alive in a rapidly changing media industry. I had never seen the first one. In all honesty, it just seemed like a complete girls movie. I had no interest, right? But wanted to hop back on the wagon, get back to watching movies in theater. I love going to the theater. I hadn't been in a long time, and though I've got some catching up to do on previous movies, I just wanted to roll ahead and get some new movies in, get 2026 started, get some different movies in there. If you are watching this, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for looking. If you, please jump around. You don't have to sit here and watch me ramble on about what topic you don't care about or a certain section you don't care about. Skip around. Put me at 2 times. That's what I like to watch myself at. I talk too slow. I like going 2 times and hearing double the speed. I can process it, makes the video shorter, maybe more interesting. Try some stuff out if it makes it more interesting. Comment if you have any suggestions, please. I just want to put that up at the front because nobody makes it to the back when I make some of these, when I say some of these comments. So please, tell me your opinion. Let me know some of your advice. If there's anything you want to see, jump around. Let me know. Anyways, yeah, hadn't watched this movie, hadn't watched the original, was going to go watch this movie, pleasantly surprised, honestly. Was not expecting much, was expecting it to be a girl movie, was expecting myself not to be really the audience. I'm not a fashion guy. Every video I'm wearing a shirt like this, right? So I'm not a fashion guy. I'm not, though I am into it, right? Like I'm a car guy, I'm a normal guy, I like football, I like all this, dude stuff, I like NASCAR. I can get into, fashion, right? Like, I can get into some things that are girly. Why not, right? I mean, hey, on the low, I watch a little bit of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, okay? I watch Bachelor, Bachelorette. It's a little bit of my guilty pleasure, okay? I can enjoy some of that stuff, getting into the dramas. So this was a movie that had potential, but, I wasn't expecting to really enjoy it as much as I did. Let's jump into the things that I enjoyed about this movie with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? Okay, so again, I feel like I've been doing a million sequels, a million franchises. Here we are, another sequel. Whenever we're talking about a sequel or a franchise, I like to ask the question, did it make sense for you to make this movie? Did you have more to tell with the story that warranted you making a movie or the world around it? Did you need to make this movie and have something worthwhile to say? Or did you just make it to capitalize off the popularity of a previous movie or franchise and make some money? Genuinely, they did a great job with the premise of this movie. I think it makes total sense, right? You're talking about a movie that came out in 2006, and it's about fashion. Fashion is completely different. I mean, it changes every couple of years, but 2 decades, totally different. I think the idea to bring that back and approach it in a different time period, good idea, very interesting. I'm glad they brought all the same characters back. That also makes for an interesting dynamic and allows them to explore those characters a little bit more. I really enjoyed it. I thought this definitely was worth being made. It had solid reasoning for the plot, right? This idea of her, being fired and having to come back into this industry, but not necessarily wanting to get back into it for the reasons she had originally got into it, but wanting to, import some of the things that she has learned now that she's older and some of these values and put them into the company and have more of a standing. I enjoyed it. It's really great. It was a great way to move the plot along. It was interesting. My only complaint is that this movie really just kind of had a lot of issues. It went issue to issue to issue to issue. And though I didn't necessarily hate any of them or think they were bad, I just thought it was too many. There was a point where, it was keeping my interest, but then it happens enough times that I was like, what is going to be the final problem here? What is actually going to happen? Because most movies you have 1 or 2, maybe 3 issues that it arcs over. But This one had a ton. I mean, it had a million. It seemed like it was jumping from problem to problem to problem to problem. And I just thought it was too many and made it hard to realize, what the movie was about or going to, or when it was necessarily going to end. And though, yes, it did have some moments of convenience on how things got solved, it takes itself lightheartedly, and I didn't necessarily care. The plot overall was really solid, and I think it made sense and was interesting and made sense to make for a sequel. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? If you're into fashion, I think you'll like this movie, obviously, right? It's about fashion. I myself am not necessarily into fashion, but I was interested, right? A movie about fashion adds this depth where you're looking at all the outfits, and though you're watching the movie for the plot, there's kind of this like subplot of you being interested in what people are wearing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. If you're into fashion, you'll definitely enjoy kind of looking through this movie and deciding, making decisions on, hey, that's a cool outfit, that's not a cool outfit, or whatever. And there's a lot of outfits in this movie. Also, if you just want to enjoy an easygoing movie with a decent story and some decent comedy, this is a good movie. I feel like that's been lacking pretty hard recently. Last couple years, people just don't know how to make a decent movie that isn't super serious and it's just rewatchable. Doesn't have to be super funny. It just has like an interesting enough story with good enough comedy to be extremely rewatchable. This is one of those movies that I just feel like isn't very common anymore. So if you like kind of those nostalgic 2000 movies that were able to do that, then you'll enjoy this movie as well. Third is theme. What message or truth is the movie trying to convey? So this movie did touch upon, art, the state of art with modern technology. It's a point that I personally enjoy. It's something I observe, right? Like you look at all the new duplexes being built all the time everywhere, and they're just copy and paste, and they're just, I don't know, they're not nice. Like you take a look at McDonald's, right? All the McDonald's, all the Taco Bells, everything is, all the new locations or places that are being refurbished, they look terrible. They're just bland. There's just modern architecture that's going, it's just sad. It's draining all the art and all the color and all the interesting aspects out of the world. And this theme, they kind of touch upon that about where things are at and how everything's just kind of becoming one instead of things standing out and being on their own. And I totally agree, and I kind of like that they touched upon that in a way that didn't feel very obvious and in your face. It was just kind of subtle and making you realize that, hey, things are changing. Art's kind of going away for convenience, and that's a little sad. And I totally agree. Now, they also have this idea of rewarding the person who is able to, stick to their values and maintain their identity. Find an identity that you're proud of, that you enjoy. And when you're challenged on that, even though it would be easier to take a different route and compromise on your morals or on what you believe, don't do that, and you'll be rewarded for it. I thought it was a nice, friendly message, right? It's a movie that's not meant to be taken too seriously, but it has little moments where it's conveying a theme that's educational and interesting and a good lesson that if you were to take anything out of it, there's some stuff to take out of it that's well done. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? I would say yes, for the most part, right? I mean, it is a comedy, and it's a situational comedy being in fashion, kind of, making a statement about people who are extremely rich or people in the situation where they, don't necessarily see the world clearly because of where they are. So some of the conversations, do they feel real? There's moments where they don't, but it's on purpose. It's supposed to be exaggerated and feel different, right? And speaking of that, the comedy in this, some of the comedy about situations are really well done. I hate the idea, I hate death by a million jokes. I hate the Marvel comedy where it's just not good. The timing is god awful. This movie doesn't have that. It has decent timing. It has decent jokes. Did I laugh at everything? No. Did I laugh at some things? Yeah, definitely. It had some of my favorite comedy, which is situational humor. That is by far some of my favorite. I like to point out the show Modern Family, a lot of episodes, the way that they convey comedy is the situation is funny. It's not necessarily that they said or did a thing or they said something that was specifically funny. It was a joke in and of itself. It's just the trouble that they find themselves in is ironic and it's funny. That's my favorite kind of comedy, and there's a lot of situational humor in this movie, and it's really well done. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? I'm going to talk about, kind of the three, big actors or actresses in this movie. First, we'll talk about Anne Hathaway as Andy. I think she has a good energy to the character, right? This movie isn't built to have these really huge emotional moments and show off some incredible acting skills, right? But she does a good job with keeping this character, lighthearted and having energy throughout the film, doing good with the comedy. She has good moments of emotion, but nothing super impressive. She just does a good job of, having this lighthearted, fun character to watch throughout the movie. Now, Meryl Streep as Miranda, she does a great job with this character. She embodies the character well. She just has this look, and it's just like attitude, and she's kind of scary, and she just continues to, keep the character very strict and interesting. There's great moments in this movie where that character opens up, and I know that you had a moment in the previous movie, but I feel like they are more intense, more interesting, and more often in this movie. You get to see into the character, and she shows a little bit more emotion. It's really well done. She just embodies that character well. It's a pretty memorable character because of the way she portrays it. Lastly, I'll talk about Emily Blunt as Emily. She's a good addition to the movie. Again, she's not doing anything crazy. That's not necessarily her role in the movie. Her character in the movie isn't supposed to be really dramatic, but she's just a fun presence to have on screen. Her chemistry with Anne Hathaway in moments is good. It's convincing that they are, friendly to each other or not, or some of the tension. She just does a good job. She's a great actress, and she's a good addition to the film overall. The acting in this movie is honestly good for what it's going for. I don't mind it at all. I thought, it could be way worse. There's so many movies that, when they're not serious enough, the acting isn't good enough. But this movie, they do what they're supposed to do, and you can just clearly tell with these people that, they're professionals. They're good at what they do. And I think I'm forgetting, I think his name's Stanley Tucci. He does a great job too. They all just do a good job of, just portraying their characters well, and you can tell that they're professionals. 6 is cinematography. Is there creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? This is where the film is really interesting. This is where it sets itself apart, right? It's that fashion. 2 decades later, we're looking at a ton of fashion. There's a million outfits in a movie that is supposed to be about a bunch of people that work at a fashion magazine and are the head of it. They do a good job, of giving you plenty of opportunities and plenty of scenes with tons of outfits, a bunch of stuff to look at. It's honestly a good time. It's fun. It's interesting to look at all of them, inform some sort of opinion, and I think it's a good conversation starter with this movie. You talk to somebody, and the thing you're going to talk about is, hey, what kind of outfits did you like? What was your favorite one? I think that's an interesting thing, an interesting dynamic that this movie brings to the table. Of course, there's no intense, interesting shots. That's not necessarily what this movie is meant for, but it does have great settings. As much as the fashion is nice and interesting and good to look at, so is the places that they go, right? New York City, it's a fun place to look at. It feels big. They do a good job of showing you kind of the rich and fancy side of it. It's interesting to look at. And then they go to Italy in this movie, and that place is beautiful, and they show, these great places that they go and how nice they are, right? You got Lake Como in this movie. Just a ton of really great things to look at in this movie, which was really everything it was going for. Now, emotionally, there's not much here. Not that there ever was intended to be, but there's enough to be interesting. There's some character development. There's some things going on that make you question, morality, or just seeing, really a lot of it has to do with Miranda's character and getting to see her a little bit more, and maybe how Andy's character has changed. There's a lot of interesting moments in here. Nothing crazy, but a good amount for what the movie, I think, was really going for. 7th is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 1 hour and 59 minutes long. Personally, you know what I'm gonna say. It's a little long. I don't really think it should have been that long. Like I said, I think they just kind of added too many problems to the movie. They could have shortened it up, had the same amount of impact, and it not be 2 hours long. I think it should have been, for what kind of movie this is, it should have been an hour 40, hour 45, hour 30 would have been great, honestly. I just don't think they needed to make it as long as it is, and it will definitely hurt the rewatchability just because I just lose interest at a certain point where it's like, okay, especially knowing the problems and knowing the solutions. The only thing that's kind of carrying along is the interesting outfits and settings and being able to look at stuff. But I don't really need 2 hours of that. I could have done with an hour 30 or an hour 40. Eighth is soundtrack. The soundtrack's good. I noticed it. There's moments that I think it's fun. I don't think they did enough of the fun soundtrack, right? They had music going on, but there were certain moments where I was like, oh, this is good, and I'm bobbing my head and enjoying it. But there's only like 2 or 3 moments, and I feel like they could have incorporated some better music throughout the entire thing rather than just those couple moments. But hey, it was noticeable. Ninth is directing. Now I feel the director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to put it all together, give it their stamp of approval, and make a really good movie. Now the director of this movie is David Frankel, and this is his 9th movie. The 9 total films that he's directed so far are Miami Rhapsody, The Devil Wears Prada, Marley and Me, The Big Year, Hope Springs, One Chance, Collateral Beauty, Jerry and Marge Go Large, and finally The Devil Wears Prada 2. Personally, I've never seen any of those movies. I mean, I kind of remember Marley and Me, but I was so young that I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything about it other than the fact that it was sad. But based on this movie, you know, I'd be interested to see some of his other movies. I liked the comedy in it. I liked some of the decisions that were made. It seemed like he really knew what this movie was supposed to be, who was going to be watching it, and, you know, kind of guiding it towards appealing them and it making sense. And I enjoy when directors, you know, just have that, what I would call common sense, to know that, to just know a goal, know who's going to be watching your movie, and purposely do the things that are needed to appeal to them in a way that makes sense, but also someone like me coming in can enjoy it because it's still just well written. It has good comedy, it's got good pacing, it's, you know, got good actresses in it that are going to take normal mundane characters and elevate them because they're just good at their job. So I'd be curious to watch some of his other movies and see if they're any good. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it a 78, the audience gives it an 86, and IMDb gives it a 68. Normally, I'm all with IMDb, but recently, IMDb's kind of been off the ball for me. 68's too low. It's a solid movie. I don't really understand what all the complaints are about, unless you just, you know, maybe the comedy doesn't land for you. I guess that's kind of, you know, opinion based. But it feels solid. I feel like 68 is way too low. 78 to 86, I can get down with that. I think it's a low B. I would put it like an 82 or something like that. It's just a movie that knew what it was supposed to be and does it well, right? Like a 78 wouldn't, I wouldn't be mad at that. It's just decent, right? It's never going to be that 90s kind of movie, never intended to be. It was just supposed to be a good little lighthearted movie that has some depth in some areas, a theme that you can get out of it with some good comedy and a good time where you're supposed to just, you know, enjoy the story, watch some fashion, and enjoy, you know, what you're looking at. And it just does a good job. It's surprisingly a pleasant movie to watch. Finally, for the rankings. For the year of 2026, somehow in May, it is the first movie that I have watched. So it's going to be first in entertainment and first in cinematography. For the decade of the 2020s, out of 64 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 10th, just below Twisters and just above Spider-Man No Way Home. Honestly, there's just not been a lot of movies recently that have released that are just solid, good entertainment movies. So it's up there. It's up at 10th. I have it below Twisters. Personal preference, honestly. Another movie that I think just knew what it was supposed to do and did it, right? It's just supposed to be a fun movie about tornadoes, and they give you plenty of tornadoes. They give you a fairly generic and interesting character that's good enough to pass by to the next tornado, and so that's what they do, and it's done well. I think it's above The Devil Wears Prada 2 for me, just because I'm a guy, right? I enjoy Twisters more. I enjoy destruction more than fashion, but I can admit that the fashion and stuff was fun at a certain time for me, but I think odds are I'm probably gonna want to watch, you know, more destruction and Twisters more often, and it's gonna be a little more entertaining for me. Now, I do have it above Spider-Man No Way Home, mainly because the first half of that movie I just didn't like, right? It's a long movie. It's hard to get through the entire movie, and the first half to me just sucked. I really didn't like it. So there's some barriers to watching that movie, and again, I think The Devil Wears Prada 2 just knows what it wants to do and then just does it. And though it's also kind of long, they're kind of comparable in that sense. There really wasn't a part to The Devil Wears Prada that I just hated, right? But just couldn't stand. But there is in Spider-Man No Way Home that's kind of going to keep me from watching it again, even though the second half of that movie is just fantastic. Cinematically, out of 64 total movies, it is going to be 16th, just below Joker, Folie à Deux, and above How to Train Your Dragon. Now, this is at the point where everything kind of Joker and above are movies that, yes, they may have flaws, right? I mean, Joker, Folie à Deux definitely has some flaws, but there's just a tone and a seriousness to it that I think just brings credit and helps cinematography as an art form, right? It just, there's a seriousness there, and there's some really good things. I know people really complained about it, but there's some solid things there. That world is still interesting. There's still some fantastic acting, and though I didn't love certain parts of it and didn't love the musical parts of it, there's still just a professionalism, and there is an art form to it that is respectable and is taken seriously. So this doesn't fit into that category, right? It never will. It was never meant to be that kind of cinematic movie. So I can't put it up in that section, even though it's well done. I do have it above How to Train Your Dragon, and that's really the kids' movies that I think do a solid job. They don't do anything amazing, but they know what they're trying to do. They're just entertaining kids, and they have some entertaining aspects for adults, and they just do a solid job. The difference is, I think, you know, this one is made for adults, so it has some themes and stuff that I think are good, and to me just represent art a little bit better, because some of the acting, a lot of the kids movies are not acted out, they are animated, which I do think you have more to control there, and it's more impressive to make a solid, you have a good movie that is made, you know, with real settings and real people, and then you have a good movie that is animated. I think it's harder to make that good movie that uses real people. There's just a lot more things that you have to control. It's more impressive. I think as an art form, it's more impressive to be able to use those kinds of materials, those kinds of settings, and produce a really good movie. So I do think there is a touch of seriousness that's a little more respectable as far as cinematography as an art form. Now, all time, out of 79 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be 20th. Just below Twisters and above Spider-Man No Way Home. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. Cinematically, out of 79 total movies, it is going to be 24th, just below Joker, Folie à Deux, and above How to Train Your Dragon. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. If you've gotten this far, again, I just want to thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for, you know, just giving me some of your time. And really, please comment down below. If you watched this movie, tell me your opinion. What did you think about it? Am I wrong? Where am I wrong? Where am I right? What did you think? That's what I want to know. That's why I started this channel. Interact with you. Just go down and maybe interact with somebody else. I really wanted to make some, you know, some sort of community that we could all get together and talk about movies. I care about your guys' opinion. I enjoy reading what you guys think about movies. That being said, write down a movie that you want me to review, and I will get to it. Everybody who has ever written a movie on my channel, I have in a list, and I promise I will make a video on, and I'm starting to wither that list down, and it'll be a long time, but I will get there, and I will get to it. Definitely, you know, comment a movie that is, what's your favorite movie? Did you like the first Devil Wears Prada? Just, you know, get some interaction there. That's really what I want, but thank you for getting this far. If you did, I really appreciate it. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.